The scent of pine and cinnamon sugar is the first sign that the world is tilting back onto its proper axis. It is the first Saturday in December, and in my kitchen, the true holiday begins. Not with the clamor of Black Friday sales or the garish blinking of lawn inflatables, but here, at my large, oak table, cleared of its everyday clutter and polished to a soft gleam. This is my sanctuary, my command center. The creation of the annual Strickland family Christmas card is not a task, it is a sacrament. I run my fingers over the thick ivory cardstock. This year's design is a wreath of holly and silver bells, elegant and timeless, just like the family it represents. Or just like the family it is supposed to represent. My eyes drift from the blank cards to the framed photograph on the mantelpiece. It is from 5 years ago, the last Christmas we were all together under this roof. My husband, Robert, with his arms slung around my shoulders, his smile a permanent warmth in my memory. Denise, our daughter, wedged between us, her laughter almost audible even in the stillness of the photograph. Her hair was longer then. She was softer around the edges, before the coast-to-coast move, the new career, the life that now exists 2,000 miles away from my own. I shake my head, physically dispelling the melancholy. This card is the bridge. It is the tangible proof that distance is just a number. I pick up my favorite pen, a heavy fountain pen Robert gave me on our 20th anniversary, and unscrew the cap. The deep blue ink flows onto the page as I begin the careful, looping script I have practiced for decades. To my dearest Denise, Michael, and the lights of my life, Chloe and Jake *. Each word is chosen with the precision of a poet. I write of the first snowfall that dusted the town green, of the choir concert at the local church, of the simple, sturdy rhythms of my life here. I want her to see it, to smell the cold, clean air, to hear the familiar hymns. I want her to feel the ghost of Christmas pasts we shared, when the biggest drama was whether the turkey was done and if we had enough batteries for the new toys. I write until my wrist aches, filling the page with a love that I fear my voice on the phone cannot adequately convey. Then comes the final, most crucial element. From the top drawer of my desk, I retrieve my checkbook. The leather cover is worn soft. I flip to a fresh check and fill in the date. December 2nd. In the payee line, I write with deliberate clarity, Chloe and Jake Strickland College Fund. The amount is a number that makes my practical heart, the one that clips coupons and waits for sales, give a little flutter. $5,000. It is a significant sum, a chunk of the careful savings Robert and I built together. But it is not money. Not really. It is a brick in the foundation of their future. It is my promise to those two beautiful children that their education, their potential, is sacred. It is my love, converted into something concrete, something that cannot be lost or forgotten. I let the ink dry completely before I fold the check neatly and place it inside the card. I seal the envelope with a sense of profound satisfaction. I press the flap down firmly, ensuring the adhesive takes hold. I address the envelope in the same elegant script, adding a few extra holiday stamps for good measure. It is a ritual, ascending forth of my heart in a paper vessel. The weeks that follow are a pleasant blur of anticipation. I decorate the tree with ornaments that are more memory than decoration. The lopsided clay angel Denise, made in kindergarten, the glass ball from our honeymoon. Each one is a touchstone. I bake her favorite gingerbread men, and I imagine the belated celebration we will have when I fly out to California in January. She had a big project deadline right after the new year, so we agreed I would come later, stretching the holiday magic a little longer. I do not mind. The waiting is part of the joy. When the day of my flight finally arrives, the California sun is a welcome shock to my winter-paled skin. Denise meets me at the airport, and she looks wonderful, successful, polished, her California life fitting her like a tailored suit. Her hug is warm, but it is quick, efficient. "Mom, you are going to love the new guest room. Michael just finished painting it." The house is beautiful, all clean lines and open spaces. It is a world away from my cozy, cluttered home. Chloe and Jake, taller each time I see them, give me polite hugs before disappearing into their digital worlds. The belated Christmas dinner is lovely, takeout from a very nice restaurant, but it lacks the chaos, the smells of a day-long cooking effort. I tell myself it is fine. This is their life now, I am just a visitor. The next morning, I wake early, jet-lagged and out of place. I decide to make myself useful. I gather the empty boxes from last night's meal and the wrapping paper from the gifts I brought. Denise is still asleep, the house silent. I carry the bundle out through the pristine garage to the large, wheeled trash bin at the curb. The lid is heavy. I heave it open, and the faint, sour smell of discarded food wafts out. I am about to drop my armful of trash on top when a splash of color, a familiar texture, catches my eye. It is nestled right on the surface, atop a bag of coffee grounds and wilted lettuce. My heart stops. It is not just any piece of paper. It is my card. My distinctive ivory cardstock with the holly and silver bells. My careful, looping handwriting addressing it to Denise Strickland. It is crumpled, the edges softened by moisture from something beneath it, but it is unmistakable. And the envelope flap is perfectly smooth. The seal I pressed down with such finality weeks ago is completely, utterly intact. It has never been opened. The world narrows to that single, brutal image, the careful calligraphy, the unbroken seal. The check inside, my love, my sacrifice, my promise for the future, waiting for the garbage truck. The cold metal of the bin presses against my legs. The California sun, so bright and cheerful moments ago, now feels harsh and exposing. I just stand there, my hands empty, staring at the proof of something I cannot yet name, something that feels like the end of everything I thought I knew. The scent of lemon-scented cleaner still hung in the air, a testament to Denise's rigorous morning routine. Every surface in the sprawling kitchen gleamed, from the granite countertops to the stainless steel appliances that had never known a fingerprint. This was her sanctuary, her domain of order and control. I stood by the island, my fingers tracing the cool, hard edge, trying to anchor myself. The Christmas tree in the adjoining living room twinkled mockingly, its cheerful lights a stark contrast to the cold dread solidifying in my chest. In my other hand, I clutched the reason for my unannounced visit, the item that felt heavier than any gift I had ever carried: the birthday card. The back door slid open with a quiet hiss, and Denise walked in, shrugging off her tailored winter coat. She stopped short when she saw me. "Mother, I did not expect you. Is everything all right?" Her voice was even, polite, but there was a flicker of annoyance in her eyes, a question as to why I would disrupt the pristine schedule of her day. "No, Denise," I said, and my own voice sounded fragile, a thin sheet of ice over a deep well of emotion. "Everything is not all right." I watched her face, that beautiful, composed mask I had admired for so long, as I placed the card on the island counter. I did not simply set it down. I laid it flat, smoothing the wrinkled envelope with a trembling hand, making sure she could see the dark, greasy stain marring the paper, the blurred ink of Jamal's name. Her eyes dropped to it. For a second there was nothing, no recognition, no guilt, then a slight tightening around her mouth. "What is this?" "It is the birthday card I gave Jamal last week," I said, the words catching in my throat. "The one with the check inside, for his college fund. I found it in the kitchen trash bin this morning." The silence that followed was absolute, broken only by the hum of the sub-zero refrigerator. Denise picked up the card between her thumb and forefinger as if it were something contaminated. She did not open it, she just looked at the stain. "Oh," she said, and the single syllable was like a door slamming shut. Mother, you must understand, it was a chaotic morning. I was cleaning up after breakfast, Jamal was rushing for the bus, it must have gotten mixed up with the discarded wrapping paper. A simple oversight. I am sorry you had to find it like that." She offered a thin, dismissive smile. "I will write you a new check for the amount. There is no need for this drama." "Drama?" The word erupted from me, hot and sharp. The ice shattered. "You think this is about drama? Denise, I saw it. It was not with wrapping paper. It was buried under coffee grounds and eggshells. It was soiled. You threw my gift to your son, my grandson, in the garbage." Her composure cracked, just for a moment. A flash of defensive anger lit her features. "It was a mistake. What do you want from me? It is the holidays, I am stretched thin, things happen. You are making a mountain out of a molehill." "I am making a mountain out of the fact that you discarded a piece of my heart." I was trembling now, the hurt and fury I had bottled up for years finally overflowing. "This is not about one card. This is about every time I feel like I have to fight to be a part of this family. This is about the way you look at me when I hug the children too long, or when I offer to help you in this very kitchen. You act as though my love is an inconvenience." The front door opened then, and Robert walked in, his face brightening until he saw us. The atmosphere in the room was thick enough to taste, a bitter cocktail of accusation and pain. "Yvonne, Denise, what is going on in here?" he asked, his voice cautious, his eyes moving from my tear-streaked face to Denise's rigid posture. "Your mother," Denise said coldly, "is upset over a trivial accident." "Trivial?" I cried, turning to Robert. "Robert, she threw away the college fund check I gave Jamal. I found it in the trash." I saw the shock register on his face, a deep, genuine disappointment that replaced his initial confusion. "Denise, is that true?" Before she could answer, Marcus appeared in the doorway from the hall, drawn by the raised voices. He looked pale, his shoulders slumped, a man caught in a crossfire he had long dreaded. "Marcus," Robert said, his tone shifting to one of quiet authority, "do you know anything about this?" Marcus would not meet my eyes. He looked at the floor, at the perfect tiles, anywhere but at us. The silence stretched, heavy and accusing. "Marcus," I pleaded, my voice breaking, "please." He finally looked up, his gaze filled with a pained resignation. "It was not an accident, Dad." The words were a whisper, but they echoed in the quiet kitchen. He looked at me, his eyes begging for forgiveness. "It has happened before, Mom. A sweater you knitted for Keisha that got lost. A book you gave Jamal that was donated by mistake. It is a pattern." The air left my lungs. A pattern. The confirmation of my deepest, most secret fear was a physical blow. I leaned against the island for support. "Marcus, how could you?" Denise hissed, her betrayal now directed at her husband. "You would side with her against me, in my own home." "I am not siding against you, Denise. I am tired of hiding the truth." Marcus's voice rose, frayed at the edges. "I have watched you do this for years. I have made excuses for you. I told myself it was just your way, that you were just private. But it is more than that. It is resentment. You resent her generosity. You see it as interference." The word hung in the air between us all. Interference. Denise laughed, a short, harsh sound devoid of any humor. "Interference? Is that what you call it? Smothering is a better word. Constant, suffocating smothering." She turned her gaze on me, and for the first time I saw the full, venomous depth of her feelings. The mask was off completely. "You want the truth, Mother. You have always wanted the truth about how I feel. Here it is. I never wanted your money. I never wanted your constant involvement. That college fund was not a gift to me. It was a leash. A way for you to ensure you remained the central figure in my children's lives, a role you felt I was not fit to hold on my own." The room spun. Each word was a needle, piercing a lifetime of belief. You think I gave that money to control you?" I could barely form the sentence. "I know you did," she screamed, her control utterly gone. "Every gift, every offer to babysit, every holiday dinner you insist on hosting, it is all a reminder that you do not think I am capable, that I am not enough for my own family. I built this life, this home, this family by myself. I did it with discipline and order, things you never understood with your chaotic, emotional generosity. And you cannot stand that you are not needed here. The college fund was the ultimate symbol of that. I will not have my children beholden to you. I will not have you hold that over my head for the next 10 years. Tears streamed down my face, hot and silent. I looked at Robert, whose face was a mask of stunned grief. I looked at Marcus, who looked utterly defeated. And I looked at my daughter, this stranger trembling with a hatred I never knew she possessed. "All I ever wanted," I whispered, my voice raw, "was to love you, to love them." "Well, I do not want your love," she spat, her words final, absolute. "Not if it comes with strings, not if it comes with conditions. I want you to leave. I want you to leave my house." Robert stepped forward. "Denise, you do not mean that." But she did. I could see it in her eyes. The unraveling was complete. The family I thought I had was a fiction. I turned, my legs feeling like lead, and walked toward the front door. I fumbled with the handle, the world blurry through my tears. As I stepped out into the cold winter air, I heard Robert's voice, low and urgent, from inside the hallway. "Denise, what have you done? She is your mother." And then I heard her reply, the words chasing me out into the freezing dusk, a final, devastating blow that changed everything. "She is the reason Marcus lost his job. I found the termination notice months ago. He never told you because he was too ashamed. He did not want to disappoint you, but I know, and I will never forgive her for what her expectations did to him." The car ride home was a tomb on wheels. The silence was not merely an absence of sound, it was a physical presence, a heavy, cold weight pressing down on us from the inside. I stared out the window, but I did not see the familiar streets of our neighborhood, the manicured lawns, the houses glowing with evening light. I saw only the ghost of my daughter's face, a mask of cold calculation that had replaced the sweet, trusting child I once knew. Robert kept both hands on the wheel, his knuckles white. He did not speak. He did not need to. The tremor in his jaw, the way he swallowed hard every few minutes, it was a language I understood perfectly. He was grieving, too. We pulled into our driveway, and the familiar sight of our home, the place we had built together for over 30 years, offered no comfort. It felt like a stage set, a beautiful facade hiding a cavernous emptiness. The click of the garage door closing behind us was the sound of a gate slamming shut, locking us away with our heartbreak. The days that followed bled into one another, a monochrome wash of quiet misery. Robert returned to work, a necessary distraction, I suppose, but I found myself unable to resume the rhythm of my life. My volunteer work at the library, my book club, my weekly coffee with friends, it all felt like a performance, a charade I did not have the energy to maintain. The house, once a source of pride, felt too large, its quiet corners echoing with memories that had now turned sour. I would find myself standing in the doorway of the room we had kept for Lily, the room that still held a dusty box of her childhood treasures, and a pain so sharp would lance through me that I could hardly breathe. I withdrew, I know I did. It was not a conscious decision, more an instinct of a wounded animal retreating to its den. Robert would try to draw me out. "Yvonne, we should go for a walk," he would say, his voice gentle but strained. "The fresh air would do you good." "I am quite all right, Robert," I would reply, my own voice sounding thin and distant even to my own ears. "You go ahead." He would look at me with those kind, worried eyes, and I would have to turn away. How could I explain that the grief was not just for the money, or even for the betrayal itself? It was for the future I had imagined. It was for the grandmother I would never be to Chloe, the Christmases that would now be spent with a careful, polite distance, the family dinners that would be exercises in tension. I was mourning the death of a dream, and I had to do it alone. Robert's presence, his solid, unwavering love, felt like a spotlight on my pain, and I could not bear it. Weeks turned into a month. The raw, screaming agony subsided into a dull, persistent ache, and with that slight shift came a clarity I had not possessed before. It arrived not as a thunderclap, but as a quiet realization one morning as I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the checkbook. The voided check for $50,000 was still tucked inside, a paper monument to my naivete. I picked it up. The paper felt cold. I thought of Lily's hand reaching for it, the hunger in her eyes. I thought of Mark standing behind her, a silent puppeteer. And then I thought of Chloe. That was the hardest part. This was never about punishing an innocent child. This was about protecting a legacy of love from being poisoned by manipulation. A resolve, hard and clear as diamond, began to form within me. I would not let their actions define my heart. I would not allow their rejection to become the cornerstone of my remaining years. My love for my granddaughter was a separate, pure thing. It deserved its own sanctuary, untouched by the bitterness of this conflict. I stood up. My body felt lighter, purposeful for the first time in weeks. I went to my desk, took out my stationery, and picked up a pen. I did not write a letter. I wrote a single sentence on a fresh sheet of paper. The act of love must be free from the expectation of relationship. I stared at those words. They were my truth. Then I picked up the phone. My finger did not tremble as I dialed the number for our bank manager, a man who had known us for 20 years. "Mr. Henderson, it is Yvonne Miller," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "I need to speak with you about a financial matter. It is urgent." An hour later, Robert found me in the study. I was seated at the computer, the website for a national financial institution glowing on the screen. "Yvonne, what are you doing?" he asked, his tone cautious. I turned to face him. "I am reclaiming something, Robert, my peace, and Chloe's future." I explained it to him, point by point. I was not canceling the gift, I was transforming it. The check was void, its promise erased. In its place, I was formally establishing the Chloe Marie College Fund. It would be in my name, with him as the co-trustee. The money would be legally secured, bound for one purpose and one purpose only: Chloe's education when she turned 18. It was an act of love, yes, but it was an act with boundaries, with protections. It was completely separate from Lily, from Mark, from any future interactions, pleasant or otherwise. It existed because of my love, not as a bargaining chip for a relationship. Robert listened, his expression unreadable. For a terrifying moment, I thought he would argue, that he would plead for one more chance at reconciliation, that he would see this as a final, unforgivable severance. Instead, he walked over to me, placed a hand on my shoulder, and squeezed gently. "It is the right thing," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "It is strong. It is what you must do." The finality of the process was not dramatic. It was a series of phone calls, signed documents, and electronic transfers. But with each step, a weight lifted from my soul. I was not being cold, I was being clear. I was building a wall not to keep love out, but to keep manipulation away from the love I wanted to preserve. That evening, we sat together on the porch swing, the one we had bought for our 20th anniversary. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and violet. The silence between us was different now. It was not heavy with loss, it was comfortable, filled with a shared understanding. "I was afraid I had lost you, too," Robert said softly, his hand finding mine. "You went away for a while." "I had to," I whispered, leaning my head against his shoulder. "I had to grieve the daughter I thought I had, but I am here now." We watched the fireflies begin their evening dance in the garden. The love I felt for Robert in that moment was a tangible thing, a warm, steady flame in the growing dusk. We had lost a part of our family, but we had not lost each other. In fact, the foundation of our bond felt stronger, tempered by the fire we had just passed through. My legacy would not be defined by my daughter's rejection. It would be defined by the strength I found to protect my own heart, and by the unconditional love I would safeguard for a little girl who knew nothing of the battles fought in her name. It was a quiet resolution, not a storybook happy ending, but it was ours, and it was enough. As the last light faded, a single thought, clear and sharp, cut through the peace. The paperwork was complete, the fund was established, but the letter to Lily explaining our decision still remained unwritten on the desk inside. And I knew that its words would be the most difficult I would ever have to choose.